People sometimes ask me, what was the moment that the Holocaust was decided upon? And that's an extremely difficult question to answer, I think in part because I sometimes get the feeling that there's almost a human desire with this subject to think of it in a way like those movies we see of the way terrible crimes are organised. And when you see how a crime's organised on a fictional movie, it normally has certain stages. So you have the team get together, the conspirators get together to try and plan what's happening, and they all have different skills, and they have one big meeting when they sit and they agree how it should be organised and what should happen. And then they implement it. It has those set changes. And in a way, I've often found that people, when they come to the horrendous crime of the Holocaust, almost want to believe that it's decided in that way. I don't know whether it's in some bizarre way almost psychologically comforting to think that there is this central key moment of decision. That's why, for instance, I think there's a lot of emphasis in this history on the Wannsee Conference in January 1942. People sometimes say, oh, that moment is the moment that the Holocaust was decided upon. But it wasn't that single moment. This whole crime evolved in a much more complicated, interesting way. It evolved in a way of moments of escalation. And that in a way makes the whole history even more disturbing, because it isn't a question of one person just sitting down one day and deciding suddenly to commit this horrendous crime. It's a series of moments. So what you find is that, for example, during the war, there's a decision made by the Nazis once they move into Poland. They start ghettoizing Jews, and they do this because they think they're then going to expel them. Now, many Jews die in horrible conditions in the ghettos, but they're not places of straightforward extermination. And then Nazis believe the war is probably going to end in 1940 because they think Britain will make peace in the summer of 1940, and they even have this plan to send the Jews to the island of Madagascar. A solution that would have been quasi-genocidal for the Jews, but it wouldn't have been the Holocaust as we know it. There's another moment of escalation in June 1941 when the Nazis invade the Soviet Union. And this leads to these appalling murders and killings right across the Baltic states and occupied Soviet Union. So there's another moment once they start experimenting at Auschwitz in the autumn of 1941 with Zyklon B, and the Operation Reinhard death camps start being built, places like Belzec, Treblinka, which are operational in 1942. So what you see is that actually this is the most appalling crime in history, but it isn't decided upon in this one single moment. It's a series of these escalations, and in many, many ways, I think that's even more disturbing.